I suppose I'm just going to go through, as Bernard said, a few the architecture projects, and the ones I've selected are ones where I suppose typically people wouldn't really think of maybe BIM or being that particularly useful. And I suppose the first one here is Tolo and South Leinster Tennis Club, sports club. And this project started off a few years ago at feasibility stage, and I suppose at that stage, you're not sure what way the thing is going to go. And so we did a reasonably detailed feasibility study, but part of the feasibility study was actually that top 3D graphic, okay? But that graphic is also actually a model, So within the feasibility study, I mean, we hadn't everything worked out, but we were probably maybe 70% of the way there. But thankfully, as through public meetings and different strategies that were taken on by the local community, the project was eventually then went to, I suppose, proper design stage. And the drawing on the bottom is actually the site plan for what was eventually the planning application, which was probably 18 months later. Now, the interesting thing, I suppose, for anyone thinking of using ArchiCAD and using BIM properly, is that we were able to use a lot of the work we had done in the feasibility study in the planning application drawings. We were just able to continue the work. We didn't have to go back and start a new set of drawings. And also the model, you see, at the beginning was based on a detailed topographical survey, which is often something that architects can be sometimes a little bit lazy with, in that you could start off with your site plan from your OS map, for instance. But it's if you use BIM properly and ArchiCAD properly, it's best to start with the proper survey, and then from then on you're working with real data. There's no fudge. So this slide here then, that up here on this corner is a view which was actually part of the feasibility study, and the other views then are part taken from the model. They're just screenshots again, but taken from a model from phase 2 of the development, and before it went out for tender. So we were using these views to just make sure we haven't made any mistakes. And what's interesting, that building actually, because the site is actually quite a tight site, there's a lot of changes in levels and that, and really ArchiCAD and by using BIM correctly, we were able to see these problems before, at this stage when it's on paper. And on this sheet here, we have some examples of construction drawings from phase 1, and phase 1 was completed last year, 2011, and it involved the first 3 international ITF tennis courts and a children's playground, and these are some of the details, but all of this is taken directly from the model. Sure, we've added some notes, but it's very, very accurate. And if we look at photographs of the actual construction completed, this is their first open day, and really what's on site there is it's almost within millimeters of our model, because the topographical survey that we had at the start was accurate. And I remember being on site myself and contractor telling me there wasn't enough space when he did his measurements first, and I said to him, I said, go back and recheck your measurements. And he went back and rechecked his measurements, and sure enough there was enough space. I think it was within that of a wall, at one side of the site and the other side of the site. But because we had worked in the model, I had worked in the model myself, I was confident that it would fit. So here on this sheet here then, I suppose this is where we're starting to look at phase 2. A lot of these projects, this is part government funded, different grant schemes, and for phase 2 they've put in several applications for grant funding. So the main sports building is very, very large, and it's been broken up into several phases or sections. So we were looking at this, as we were developing up, and for tender for different sections of it. So again, these elevations of that particular section of the building and the sections, that's just taken from the model. And it's the same model. There's still elements in that model from the original feasibility study. Sure, it's been worked up along. Sure, there's been a lot of changes, but there's a direct link from the start. Now, the next project I'll go through is refurbishment of a protected structure, protected house in Kilkenny. And the reason I picked this out is that it's the type of thing where people would say, well, BIM, ArchiCAD, oh, that's great, like for a new building, but if we're doing a refurbishment or something, it's just too much hassle. It's not going to work. But again, we found this fantastic in this project. Again, the key thing is measure it very well at the start, which we did. We always do that. And this is one of the construction drawings that was eventually developed from the model. As you can see, there's a lot of detail there. Almost all of that, apart from the text and a couple of the red lines there for the electrical layout, are all in the model. There's no other lines drawn on that. This is some views of the design model as we were working up along, and there's the sections taken through. You can take a section through at any point just to make sure that everything is working. Service runs in a protected building can be very important. Where pipes are to go internally, particularly large waste pipes. That's all in there. The client can really see the kitchen. The client can really be certain of what they're going to get. Our clients in general make decisions, nearly all the decisions before anything goes to tender, and that makes the construction phase then far easier. Again, we had no difficulty in this on site, and again, like the phase 1 in the Tulla project we showed beforehand, it was fully on budget. There was very little changes, because as you can see, the finished product, the model is like the finished product and vice versa. So everything worked out. Another project then, again, there's an element of historic fabric. Here's a project in Monaghan, and there's a 350-year-old, I suppose, cottage, and with it had an old livestock shed beside it, and our client wanted a house. So this was one of the design models as we were working up a design involved refurbishing the existing cottage and reusing the livestock shed with a kind of a contemporary extension. This is the plan here, and this is the project on site. Again, we measured everything very accurately, and the client was very sure of what they were getting before it went on site. And thankfully, the walls are crooked, they're not straight, there's things don't line up, but that's no problem in ArchiCAD. It's no problem. It should be no problem in BIM in general. It's just another project, and then you move ahead. So I'm just showing you this visual here, which from the 3D model, which was taken way back at sketch stage, and then we look at the photograph of the construction. There was a couple of very minor changes just to break up with the fenestration and stuff like that, but that's there's nearly 2 years between the two images, and the client most of the time was in Dubai and in Houston, Texas, when everything was happening, and he was quite happy he could keep up to date with it, and he was delighted with the end product. Another project here, again, kind of a complex refurb. You had an existing house with very difficult existing plan, lots of changes to it over the years, And this is a project that's actually going to go for construction in a few weeks' time. And this was an earlier 3D view, cutaway 3D view showing the ground floor, which we'd often show to clients because they can see what's happening. And then this is a later one, much closer to what is actually going to be built. And you can see there's changes, but the existing fabric that we're keeping is still there. And this is some other views of that same model. And here then is the proposed plan, which is this is a construction one. The two plans at the end there are the existing ones, and they show what's to be demolished. And in ArchiCAD, there's a very useful tool for this type of work, which is a renovation filter. And with a click of a button, you can just see what is what's going to be demolished, what's new, what's old. So that's just generated from the model. The important thing is that you measure it very carefully at the start, and you know what you're doing. That you're going to use BIM, and you're not going to look back. So if we look at this next sheet, again, these elevations, there's no lines at all in this. There's just a few notes that we added on. This is just straight off the model. Now it takes a little bit of work on the model, but a lot less than drawing lines, especially if you need to make a change. And again, here's a window and door schedule. So like this project is just back from tender, and that's what was used. That's just generated from the model, and you have all the data there you want. This is probably the most interesting slide in this project, because cutaway sections, but it shows here again more or less with a click of a button, new and old, what's been demolished up there in yellow, and then the new construction down here, and you can see the old and stuff like that. Now again, in the model, the existing model, all the rainwater, gutters, downpipes, all that sort of stuff is put in. We put that in at the start. Might seem like a little bit of a headache, but it's worth it at the end because it's there for the remainder of the project. Another project then, again, another very awkward refurbishment in Ennis, County Clare. A small cottage or end of terrace cottage in the town, and with a very bad extension out the back. Our proposal, nice new extension. This is a construction plan, immense amount of detail on it, but again, 98% of that is just taken straight off the model, and we've added some notes. Here again then, the same project, sections, elevations, and again, we're confident that there isn't a door out of place here versus the plan, because the two things are linked, and that's very vital. It's a nice confidence to have when you go on site. So these were just some models during the design process. Again, the client can see what they're getting. They can see the furniture layout. We even go as far as asking clients if they're reusing some furniture, they go measure it, or if they don't want to measure it, we'll measure it for them. And if they're going to put new furniture in, we want to know what size it is, because we put the real thing in, we don't fudge it. These are then, it's just nearing completion at the moment on site. Some photographs there, and again, no difficulties. Very tight site. We really had millimeters to work with, and I think we measured it twice. Actually, we went back before we moved on with the design too much, just to make doubly sure. But when we went on site, we had no difficulty. So I suppose they're the main projects here. Just have one or two other visuals there, which is tennis club and community centre in near Tipperary town. And again, I suppose all the levels, everything is there. We're confident when that goes in construction in November that we shouldn't meet too many big problems. Another one as well that's also in County Tipperary, I can't emphasize, like on a project like that, how useful BIM is, because you know where you stand in terms of the courts, in terms of the extension to the clubhouse. There's a lot of level changes on those sites. It looks lovely in the 3D, but it's based on real data. You see 3Ds of other projects, and there can be a lot of fudge in it. There's no fudge in this if you do it right. So I think that's pretty much it. As Bernard mentioned earlier, if anyone has any questions, you're welcome to ask. And thank you for your time.